Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
And the name of the show is Deep Space Babylon 59. We're back once again to tackle episodes 13 of each of our space station series that began in 1994. Today we're going to tackle the most important episode of Season 1 for Babylon 5, or at least the one that is, I guess each season, you told me, has kind of a big mythological episode.
Each season has a subtitle, and the subtitle is an episode, and that episode's kind of like the key episode of the season. It's not necessarily the most important, or like where the most things happen, but like it's really important to the season, or kind indicative of the
like
season.
The linchpin, or it's not the climax or whatever. Because of course, if there's a big story thread throughout a season, that would happen toward the end. But anyway, so is it the name of that episode that is the name of the kind of story arc at large, or that season at large? Is that a thing that it did back then, or is that just on the DVDs?
That I don't know.
Oh, okay,
but
interesting.
JMS talks about it as if it was always the
way. It's a thing you did that on purpose.
Yeah.
I like the idea of naming seasons.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And it's especially cool then when he's helping to pioneer that kind of serialized television. And we're also today going to talk about a Deep Space Nine episode that's not, of course, the most important thing, although he does set up some things that matter and gives us the germ of the O'Brien and Bashir relationship. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. We're going to start today with our Babylon 5 episode, Signs and Portents, and I am going to massively need your help in giving the summary of this episode, because there was so much stuff going on. I got bits and snippets of it, but I feel like I'm just going to fumble and drop the football if I start talking.
And I was totally wrong about that Centauri guy being a recurring.
Yeah, he dies at the end. In fact, because you had said that, I actually missed that he died at the end. Sarah and I were talking about it afterwards. I asked her about a couple things because it was like, I think there are things I didn't pick up on. Before we even get into the synopsis, can I tell you my big issue with this episode?
Sure.
And maybe it's just with this show on the whole, and it just hasn't come up enough yet. I cannot follow the space stuff. I have no idea what's going on.
Oh, you mean with the ships and stuff?
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. And the problem with this, and I don't want to complain about the CG again. Like, we all know that Babylon 5 had a real small budget, and they've got real weak special effects with the space stuff, and that they're doing the best they can. But because so much of the action in this episode happens in space, and there's not a whole lot of, I mean, there are places where Sinclair will kind of qualify things and tell you, like, this is happening, and sometimes it's even a little bit intrusive, and that's not what I would think he would be saying. But it doesn't always happen. I didn't know what the Shadow ship was doing at the end. And I didn't realize that the Centauri guy dies, the Death Wish guy.
Yeah.
He's played by Quinn from the Voyager episode Death Wish, and he's great. And it's sad that he dies because I really wanted more of him.
I thought he was recurring. I'm confusing him with a different character that comes in a little bit later. Then.
Yeah, that's probably fair. But anyway, so I'm going to need your help because
they all wear purple and have big hair.
Because a lot of the meat of this episode is actually the stuff that's happening in space, and I couldn't track it.
Well, kind of. I mean, and to be fair, I have a tendency to check out a little bit when we go to space.
Well, and I think that was part of the problem. I do think I was checking out some, yeah. So anyway, Signs and Portents opens with Sinclair finally sitting down with Garibaldi and telling him about his missing day. And what happened at the end of the Earth Minbari War with him. And I kind of figured, especially walking into this with the preconception of, okay, buckle in, this one's going to matter. I kind of thought we were going to get all the answers to that in this episode, and we don't. And I was much more perplexed at the end even as to why we open with him sitting down with Garibaldi talking about that, because, I mean, it informs the episode in the sense that it's... I mean, it feels like it just wants to check in with that so that we remember, some of the stuff that happened.
Well, we get a big revelation from it at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
I don't know why he waited this long, other than that it's not a fully serialized show yet.
And again, I'm admitting that there's a lot of this episode that I might not quite even get what's going on. So what is the revelation about that, then?
It's that...
Because all I got was, well, that one Centauri lady
No, she's Minbari.
Or Minbari, that's what I meant to say, I'm sorry. But that one Minbari, I'll get these races eventually, and it's been a long time since we watched these, besides the last episode. But I'm very nervous talking about this show, because I just don't know what that, I just don't have a great handle on some of this yet. But anyway, that Minbari lady gets that revelation about the future that the station's going to explode. But I don't know.
No, that is Centauri. I thought you were talking about something else. Sorry.
Yeah,
she's Centauri.
Okay, I thought that was a Centauri, but anyway,
you're right.
But like, but that's with Sinclair right at the end. What about the Earth Minbari War do we get that I'm missing?
We find out that Minbaris were the first endorsers of Babylon 5. I think partially funded it.
Oh yeah,
with the proviso that they get to
that happened right at the beginning of the episode.
No, that happens at the end that we find out that they had the final, because that's what Garibaldi digs up is the Minbari government had the final word.
I'm remembering the events wrong. Sorry.
Who ran Babylon 5 and they pick him.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know why I'm remembering that as being really... But yeah, because... Okay, so the reason they have to have that conversation at the beginning is because then he goes off on a mission.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of where he is for most of the episode.
Yeah.
No, that's not where the episode starts. The episode starts with Ivanova waking up. Right. This is a through line.
Yeah.
Ivanova hates mornings, and it keeps coming up.
Oh, okay. All right.
There's a really good scene where she goes to breakfast and they mess with her. It's great.
And also in the opening, there's yet another ship that explodes. We really like opening the show with ships blowing up.
It's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's a big important space thing.
So, Londo's whole reason for existence apparently is kind of in this episode in reveal, and he almost leaves the station at the end.
Well, he thinks he's gonna be kicked off the station.
Yeah.
Or pulled from the station.
But that's what I mean. Is that he almost has to leave? Okay, fine.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying that like there's this really important artifact to their culture. And
the eye.
And I kept expecting it to be the eye of something. Rather, it's not. It's just the eye.
Eye of Agamotto.
Yeah, and so help refresh me on what the deal is with all that. So there's this other Centauri guy that shows up, and he thinks that he has rights to rule the throne.
So the eye was an heirloom of the Emperor 1,000 years ago, or I think it was 1,000 years ago or something like that, and it's been missing for 100 years.
Yeah.
And the guy who's the Q guy, he bloodline-wise, he is the last descendant of that Emperor's bloodline. So he believes that he should technically be ruling. He should be the Emperor. And if he has that eye, that's some sort of kind of political leverage or a sign of, look, I should be ruling it. I have this artifact that is, my ancestor's artifact, and he ruled.
Yeah, and Londo's like, well, you could go do that, but then you're going to get killed in 6 seconds. Yeah. His name is Lord Kiro.
Yes.
And he is, and that actor is Garrett Graham. That's the Death Wish guy. And I can't wait to show you that episode because he's really cool. He's really awesome in that. And I felt like he was fine in this. I don't want to say he was wasted.
He doesn't do a lot.
I think he was the right actor for it. But I feel like when they got him, they might have expected him to get to do more in the show. Was kind of the sense I got.
Yeah. So that's the whole thing with that, and this is the beginning of some political maneuverings with the Centauri on the whole, and you're kind of getting a sense of what their government's like, and that's kind of in shambles. And it's very intentional that they dress the way they dress. They are the clowns of the universe.
Yeah, we've talked about that. I kind of felt like this was checking in with a whole bunch of the political state of different civilizations.
Mm. Yeah,
because we've got a bunch of different stories weaving in and out, and I couldn't decide if I should expect them all to converge or not. And it's not that kind of episode, right? It's like 5 things going on at once.
Yeah, we're just kind of checking on everything, but moving some things forward.
Yeah.
Because this episode is the introduction of the Shadows, who are incredibly important to the show. Actually, if you go back
and that creepy "What do you want" guy.
Who works for the Shadows?
Is that what they... Okay.
Yeah. When
I assumed, but I wasn't sure.
When she's looking at him, she's got a triangle on her forehead, and he goes all shadowy.
Okay.
Now, whether he is a shadow or not, you don't know, but he's...
I wasn't 100% sure if that was related, but...
It is because he goes around to everyone and says, "What do you want?" Which, if you go back to the comments in the earlier videos, you'll see a bunch of people asking, "What do you want?" There are two questions that reoccur in the show.
Okay, and that's one of them.
One of them's
cool.
What do you want?
I mean, it's the basic, most important question about protagonists.
Well, the other question is too. It's what do you want and who do you are?
Yeah, who are you?
Who are you? Those two questions show up a bunch in the show. So he goes around to everyone and asks, "What do you want?" And does not like the responses he gets. In Jakar, he gets a response that he doesn't have an end game. Like, he's just like, "I want everyone to leave us alone. I just want to be safe." And then he goes over to Delenn, and Delenn freaks out and has a triangle on her face. And then when he goes to Londo has this whole speech about like I want to be where we were. I want I want to be in charge of the galaxy again. I want all of these things. And so
I thought Jakar was more revengey.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, the
way you described it didn't sound that way.
Because all he wants is...
But it's not just to be left alone, it's vengeance. It's I want them to boil alive in their own blood.
The Centauri to be ground into dust and suck the marrow from their bones. And then he goes, "And what do you want after that?" And he goes, "Well, nothing."
That's right. Yeah.
Londo's answer is more open-ended. And so at the end of the episode, the Shadow ship shows up, destroys the scavenger ship, and they get the eye, and... So they bring the eye back to Londo.
All right. See, I wasn't sure how much of that was
that's
because
all
of that. I don't know why. Like, I really didn't want to talk about this until I saw it a second time because I felt like as I was watching it, it was just a bunch of disconnected stuff that was happening, and I knew it wasn't. But for some reason, the way this episode was organized, I had a hard time following it. I had a hard time tracking stuff.
That's fair. Well, and then we should say you're not in the best of sorts today. So
yeah, I wasn't feeling real great anyway, but that's neither here nor there. So anyway, so yes, this video is somewhat just Eric explaining the thing I just watched. And he goes to Kosh, and Kosh basically just tells him to F off.
Well, and we know he attacks Kosh or something because we cut and then we hear them say like Kosh is in med bay.
Oh, see, I missed that.
Yeah. We're told that Kosh is in med bay, and we don't.
Man, the one episode I didn't take notes for.
He won't say. Kosh won't say what happened. He just showed up and he was injured. But yeah,
and then there's a Raider attack.
There's a real Darth Vader Obi-Wan Kenobi thing where like Kosh goes by and the Shadow guy, his name's Mr. something, but I don't think we get it in this episode. He's like hiding like Obi-Wan Kenobi when Darth Vader walks by, and then later they meet in the hallway. So
is it coincidental that the Raiders just happen to attack when that guy shows up, or does he show up because of that? Or
no, well, it's coincidental that the Raiders attack when that guy shows up.
Okay.
But the Raiders are in league with the Centauri guy.
So
the Raiders are in league with the
Centauri. No, I get that, but I'm saying, like, well, then why is the Shadow guy showing up right now? I mean, why hasn't he shown up before this?
He just got here. Well, and when he says something about being out on the
does he stay on the station? Does he live there?
No, he comes in now.
Oh, he comes in. Okay.
Or I don't think he lives there, but he's recurring. He's kind of.
Well, I figured he'd have to be. Yeah, he seemed like a big deal.
But it's just kind of a.
And that guy does a great job. He's real creepy.
Yeah, he's really creepy. It's kind of a. It's been building to this, and I know this is the first time
he strikes me like an evil genie guy. It's like, I'm going to give you what you want, but it's going to be but it's going to be really bad for in the long run. Yeah.
It's a. This is the first time we ever directly talk about the Shadows, but I want to say there's some earlier references. We've kind of been building to this, like we're
okay.
The universe is building to a certain point, and it's just starting to bleed in. It's just starting to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it gets real grand here.
Yeah. Well, and it's gonna keep getting grand. But yeah, the why now is really, this is just when it happens to happen.
This is the episode we decided to do that.
Yeah. But it's kind of been in the background, like you don't know it, but like, so there's very clear like something's coming, and I think there is kind of an explanation for where the Shadows have been and things like that, but. Not this specific second is why now.
See, I'm having a hard time not just like asking you a bunch of questions about things because I mean this episode is we get some revelations, but it's asking a lot of questions too, and so it's kind of hard not to it's hard to review this on its own and not just like ask you things without just watching the rest of the show. So I don't know that I have a lot to say. I kind of want to just store it all away, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, no, the most important thing in this episode is all the Shadow stuff, because they're major players. And I always forget that they come halfway through the season. Like I always think they're a little bit earlier than they really are.
Do you think they try to do too much in this episode? I mean, do you think maybe they should have focused more on that, or
no?
Because it deflected my attention a little bit too much away from it, and I think that's probably intentional. But I think I think it does that too far. Where and again, some of it is just it's difficult to tell what's going on outside the station. When that shadow ship shows up, I didn't know it was a ship. I didn't know what I was looking at.
I don't think you're supposed to. I mean, I called it a shadow ship. I don't know if you're even supposed to really know that at that point.
Okay.
It's just a big, scary thing.
So do they not even, like after the Centauri ship is the Centauri guy is killed, like, do they not even...
They have no idea what happened.
Okay.
And
so they don't talk about it as a ship.
Yeah.
See, what's weird about it is, when I was talking to Sarah about it afterwards, she immediately called it a ship, and I was like, where did you get ship from? Like, I don't know what I'm looking at.
Well, I called it a ship because I said it looks like the Romulan...
it looks like the Narada.
Yeah.
From 09, yeah.
Now, I've always suspected that if it was done with better graphics, I don't think it's supposed to look solid. I think it's supposed to look like it's made out of shadow or something like that.
And I was wondering,
but it's hard to convey.
And I couldn't tell if it was casting a shadow and you weren't actually seeing it, or if you were actually seeing it.
No, that's it.
But you are seeing it.
I think it's just supposed... I think if they had the technology, it's just supposed to be made out of darkness or look like it's made out of darkness. I think it's supposed to look like real solid.
It's like the nothing from the Neverending Story, but it has form of some kind.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's a shadow ship.
I mean, I'm certainly super intrigued. I was really excited to see Kosh back.
Yeah.
Because we haven't had him in a while, and he's my favorite character so far.
Well, and it's funny because he shows up and they're like, "Welcome back, Ambassador Kosh," and you're like, "Yay!"
And it is hilarious now that you say that he winds up in the med bay again, because that happened at the beginning.
Yeah,
and it seems like he just keeps getting sick. He keeps getting hurt.
Well, I imagine it's real hard for him to get up when he falls over. He probably needs a life alert.
I've fallen! So yeah, like I said, my reaction to this pretty much is I want to watch it again. I kind of need to see it twice before I go any further.
The one complaint I think I would put on it is that it is an episode that I think is all mythology.
Yeah, it is.
And there's no character really. Like nobody really goes through any. Like I couldn't even tell you like what the A story is or who the main character of the episode is.
I don't know how important that is ultimately, but you're right. I mean, it can feel a little bit confused with a show like this because what you usually have are episodes that if they're moving mythology along, they're still an episode, and this is the first time it's not that at all. So that's just. So I mean, like I guess I'll criticize that too, just to the point of saying that like now that I know what I'm getting myself into, I can watch this a second time and I know where I stand with it.
Well, and it's also I think the show finding its feet because by the time we get to like season 3 or even like halfway through season 2, we do kind of get away from episodes in general and it's just kind of chapters in a story.
One story,
and I think. If it had come out 5 years later...
And DS9 will do that to some degree, too, with episodes that aren't fill-ins, but, you know, similar stories.
I think if Babylon 5 had come out about 5 years later, we would start that way. We wouldn't have as many just episodes.
Right.
But nothing on television was doing that. Like, that was a real radical idea, so it's kind of a compromise, yeah. But this is kind of the beginning of where everything's going.
Well, let's go ahead and move on to our next episode for today. Our DS9 episode is The Storyteller. And like I said... Que sera, sera! Like I said, the most important thing about this one for the series is the Bashir-O'Brien relationship.
Bashir's so good.
O'Brien doesn't like
Bashir
Bashir.
So much.
He thinks he's really annoying. And I think to some degree he starts to sort of appreciate him more at the end of this episode.
I don't know why.
It is... absolutely, yeah, or maybe it's just, well, they've been through something together and he still finds him annoying, but
all he does the entire episode is like kind of laugh at O'Brien and like not take the situation seriously in it. Like even when the Dal'Rok starts forming, if you look at his face in the crowd, he's smiling.
You know what though?
He's like, this is hilarious. He has to stop that monster.
Yeah, but he takes it seriously in his actions. Like when it counts, I mean, he's being really helpful. Like,
absolutely.
He's at least important in helping to keep O'Brien alive, and just keep the crowds away from him and stuff. But
he's having so much fun.
Yeah,
and I'm also having fun watching him have fun. He's great. Would you say that is the A story, or would you say the Bajorn girl is...
Depends on your definition. The way I see a lot of, like...
Because this is a real clear A story,
books
B story
and
kind of
internet things usually talk about them, it tends to be that the A story is simply whatever's happening on the station, or it's like whatever's happening with like the captain of a show. But I think in this particular case, the Storyteller is the title, so I'm going to call that the A story.
Absolutely. Well, and I was more invested in that story.
Sure. The other story felt like a little bit of a fill-in. We don't really have enough for a whole, you know...
Is any of that going to get picked up on?
If this was a later show, this would have just... Not really. Okay. If this was a show made now, we would have just had some flashback story for the rest of this episode, right?
But yeah, so
It is interesting that they're both Bajoran stories, though.
Yeah.
It's odd that you've got like two factions of Bajorans in different villages or whatever on the station, and then we go down to yet a third one, and they're not connected in any way. They have nothing to do with each other.
So this kind of really
does that not scream to you? We haven't done enough Bajoran culture. We haven't dealt enough with the Bajorans yet. So we we throw two stories in the same episode that are both about Bajor.
It kind of changes, or I don't know, because like I don't really have much about Bajor yet.
Yeah,
it's not what I thought it was.
Oh, okay.
Because like when you look at Kira and you look how she's dressed, it's not Starfleet, which makes me assume that's kind of how they dress on Bajor. But then when we get to Bajor,
right, but
it's way more medieval.
But it's military uniforms.
No, I understand that.
Right.
But it suggests a more sophisticated society than what I just saw in that town.
But you have to remember that they were just ravaged by Cardassians.
I know, but like it feels like an almost primitive culture.
Yeah, but it's not. I mean, they have warp travel and stuff. It's just
well, because that town doesn't even look like it has technology.
Yeah, but I mean, they're in that bad a shape. I think the idea is supposed to be they're in two things. They're in bad shape because of the occupation, and they're the majority of Bajorans are highly what's the word I'm looking for?
Religious?
Yeah, well, religious, but also traditional.
Okay. Yeah, it was just when we got to the planet, I wasn't expecting.
It's sort of like if Christians kept living like they lived in Jerusalem or something. You know, like it's kind of that whole thing. But I can see why that surprised you. I guess I'm sort of used to it.
I thought that they were.
I mean, they do have technology. They just kind of. I mean, I'm with you. They kind of look like they don't. But
yeah. Well, they look like the people in. Well,
remember, even the thing that he uses to control the Dalrock is technology. Like.
Yeah, well, it's part of the orb.
Well, no, but they use like pieces of the orb in it, but like it's an apparatus.
Right. I just up until this point I had assumed that their culture would somewhat resemble our culture or any of the space cultures where it's I don't know. I was just expecting it to be more sci-fi, and it was very.
I think maybe it's supposed to be like
turn of last century.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like they just. It's like if your whole planet was Roman ruins or something. Is kind of the sense I always got from it. Where it's like if you go to places in Rome, it also looks really primitive, but of course it's not. You know what I mean? It's just they've kept the architecture and everything.
Well, but it was also the way they dressed, and that they didn't seem to have a lot of technology, and so I was kind of off put by that. I was like, oh, this isn't what I thought Bajor looked like. And then when the girl's talking about which I really like that the river thing, that seems like a real believable kind of conflict.
Yeah.
That there's like a treaty based on like this river divides our two towns, and all of our property goes to the river, and
you don't cross this line.
And the Cardassians moved it, and so now they're like, well, the treaty says it's where the river is, and now we have more land, and now you have less land.
Yeah, so one side has an advantage.
That felt really historical. Almost like biblical of like not something that would happen yesterday, but that feels like a medieval kind of a.
And I like that it's a dispute and not another war.
Yeah, it's just like hey, we should have that.
We're not getting along.
That's exactly what they sound like.
And it's nice to have a sense that that like different parts there are different factions, and I
it also makes them feel less unified than I thought they were.
Yeah, well, and they have a provisional government. I mean, like, they're in shambles, and like, even though most of them kind of believe the same things, they're still. I mean, I don't want to say it's like denominations of Christianity or something. I don't think it's exactly like that, but I think they do have sort of like subcultures, and you don't see that a lot in Star Trek. And that's something I've always kind of appreciated about Bajor, although it is a little bit generic. You don't always get a real good sense of what
it seems
what
like they kind of
have
something.
But they're real territorial.
It seems like they have city-states.
Yeah.
Which isn't the sense that I've gotten up to this point. It seemed like they were a unified culture like most Star Trek cultures.
Yeah.
And so that was just... there's nothing wrong with it, it's just not what I expect or not what I thought.
Yeah, and it's weird because you do have a provisional government that's sort of like the federal government. Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
it's for the planet.
It just none of that lined up with my preconceived notions of what
that's
Bajor and
totally fair.
are like.
Mm-hmm. They will get really interesting down the road.
We also have an episode that's all about Bajorans, and Kira's still Kira's barely in this episode.
Yeah.
You'd think she would be involved in this one.
Yeah, I mean, don't worry, there'll be plenty of that later. But
I'm just talking about.
No, I'm with you. I mean, it is kind of weird. But
the stuff with the girl and Jake and Nog was fine.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't dislike it. I wasn't like you're wasting my time, but like I don't care.
Yeah, I had the same thing. I think that actress was okay.
And I think this is maybe the most I've liked Jake. He seems likable.
Yeah, Sirach often has some questionable line deliveries here and there, but other than that,
I like Nog talking about his dad. Trying to talk his dad up, because we've met his dad, and there's not a lot to talk up there. And I like her talking to Jake about Cisco, and then her then talking to Cisco about. I liked that father-son but like distanced thing going on there.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that this is weirdly kind of the first time that you really see a lot of leadership skills from Cisco, and it's not even really a Cisco episode, but kind of through his son you get that. Mm. And I like that she's
telling us what we're supposed to be getting from Cisco.
One thing I really like is what you would expect from this would be she's just a dumb little kid and has no idea what she's doing, and I like that we subvert that by having her like she's got a lot to learn, but she got a lot from her dad. That leadership, and down the road, it's knowing what I know about Jake Cisco later. It's kind of interesting to compare them because she's thrust into this leadership role at like 11 or 12, and I mean, really, you would just expect her to be obnoxious and like yell and scream all the time, and maybe get like deposed at the end or something. I mean, like it's really cool that she doesn't quite know what she's doing with some of it, but she's tactical and smart enough that she hangs out with and aligns herself with Jake so that she can learn about Cisco, and then she learns from Cisco, and then she makes the right choice.
Well, and she also doesn't just completely shut down from Nog. Like, she listens to what he has to say too, and kind of lets that inform her a little bit as well.
Yeah, like she's real open-minded, but not as much about the other Bajoran faction that they live across from, just because she's afraid that it makes her look weak, and she can't be that way. And then Cisco teaches her how she can make concessions and still look strong, and I like that a lot. But anyway, what's interesting about looking at Jake is that he's not going to follow in his dad's footsteps at all. I mean, he's not a leader type at all, and so it's kind of interesting having her that early, but you have to watch it through a second time to really pick up on that and appreciate it. So.
Yeah, I thought that story was fine. I got the impression that neither of the two stories are going to play out, even though this is our first real glimpse at Bajoran culture. I kind of felt like I'm I'm probably never going to revisit this stuff.
Yeah, those two things aren't really going to matter that much.
Dal'Rok's not going to come back.
And I don't even know if we got any real big pieces of Bajoran culture except for just bringing up the orb again. And you kind of have to have that to make what looks like a more fantasy plot, work in your science fiction
setting.
And they
kind of concede to that, right? Like, they try and find like a scientific answer, and they're like for the Dal'Rok, they don't have anything. I feel like that could have been dealt with more. Yeah,
and I felt like I questioned the rules of how exactly you make the Dal'Rok go away a little bit.
Oh, it's so dumb. I could do that job. Anyone could do that job, and I don't know why it doesn't work why it works any more or less.
Well,
with
it makes unless I'm not getting what exactly it is that makes the Dalrot go away, because it looks like it's just the village being unified and confident pushes it away, right? It makes them look really stupid. It throws
really stupid.
It throws the villagers under the bus really hard because
it happens every night. You'd think they'd have gotten used to it, and they all show up panicked. And he's like, "No, don't be panicked, just like last night."
Why are you just like always sure of yourself? It always works.
And,
so it's just
the second
we don't because here's the thing I don't get. It's trust in yourselves as a unit before it's trust in that guy. So what is it about his storytelling ability?
And he doesn't tell a story. He's like a motivational speaker before he's a storyteller.
No, that's exactly right. Yeah, and it's like a tent revival or something. Like, why do you need to believe in that guy over just believing the words, and they're the same words every time, or at least they're real close.
And both times we see it, because it comes every night, and we see it happen twice.
It's something about that unity is supposed to create the lights that make it go away, right?
Well, and I think there is something connected to the orb. Like, maybe somebody does have to be the wielder of the orb, but...
No, that's right, but that's what makes the lights happen.
But O'Brien didn't have the orb, so how could he possibly be expected to...
Well, he had it at the end. I mean, he was holding it.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, he must hand it off.
Yeah, and then he handed it off.
I thought the other guy said.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't have made any sense.
But both times we see it, the second there was a momentary interruption, the crowd just starts scattering.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, this is it, it's over. It's like, you do this every... It'd be like...
You know what I think would happen? I'm sorry, go ahead.
It'd be like if you went to a Catholic church every day.
Yeah.
And you recited the things back to the you do the I forget what that's called, but you do the and all, may the Lord be with you and also with you, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
If you did that every day,
the liturgy. Yeah.
And it was stopping something, and then one day like the priest the priest fainted, and you just were like, I guess that's it. I guess you do it every day.
Well, I mean, I guess the difference is there's not anything in that particular scenario that's going to kill you right in that moment. But to that point, and this is what I was going to say, I feel like you'd get really complacent. I feel like after a while it wouldn't feel like a danger.
No, I agree. You feel like you'd be in danger of overconfidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know we're strong.
Like,
we know we're more powerful.
How are half the people in that crowd not thinking, at what point is it going to be my turn to hold up the thing and make the lights show up? You know?
Yeah, like, it should just be a rotating thing. Like this guy gets done this day. This guy gets done this day.
Yeah,
this lady
there's
gets
nothing special about it. So when the guy that's supposed to be the real next Sarah guy, whenever the guy that the real Sarah was mentoring, whenever he apparently allegedly the first night that he tried it and it didn't work for him, that's not a reflection on him, that's a reflection on those idiot villagers that didn't believe in him, because you should believe in whoever has the thing. It's really stupid. But I think him going after O'Brien with a knife is one of the stupidest, most melodramatic things.
And he's like this while he's doing it, like the whole time he keeps hopping.
Yeah, that's really silly.
It doesn't help with the stabbing.
But I love how, I mean, he's just a crypto freak for 5 seconds. Like, O'Brien, after that,
and they immediately is really
totally understanding. He does not care that this guy tried to stab him in the face.
And sometimes it seems like nobody's actually listening to him. Because, like, he walks in, O'Brien is like, immediately was like, well, I'm not really the guy for this job. And then he tries to kill him, and he's like, I should have your job. He's like, yeah, sure.
Have it.
I just said I don't want this job.
Yeah, like, A, I don't want to live here forever. B, I don't think I'm going to be any good at it. I don't know what I'm doing. And C, I'm tired of fruit baskets.
Now, I have two questions, or one. I have one question, real quick.
Sure, yeah.
That I don't think
we're on it. I
don't think actually makes sense.
Yeah.
So they hypothesize that this whole thing was enacted by the previous Sarah, so that to restore faith in the guy that was actually supposed to be a successor. He picks O'Brien.
Yeah, it was an elaborate scheme.
Yes. Okay. Why O'Brien? The doctor's right there. He's talking to Bashir
he's like,
first.
I didn't want you.
Yeah, not yet. Why? Why not Bashir?
Is he somehow rather afraid that Bashir would be better at it?
Bashir would be great at it.
I mean, is that what he's afraid of?
Bashir seems like a guy that could rally some people.
But it's not like O'Brien is a timid sort.
No. No.
You know? If you sent Jake, yeah. You know? But not... not anybody on the bridge crew of, you know, the station. Like,
Bashir seems,
I don't get that.
The way he... No, I don't know what he would be like if the situation was...
Does he just seem too enthusiastic or something?
Yeah.
Is it because he's a medical professional, somehow or rather, that makes him too qualified? He's looking for the least qualified person.
I don't know how he would react if the situation was thrust on him, but given how he dealt with the situation being thrust on O'Brien, I think he'd leap at the opportunity to be this story. Like, he'd think it was fun.
You know, now that you say that, I feel like there's not a story here outside of the village. Like, I feel like O'Brien and Bashir showing up is, of course, how we got to get our characters in this, but I feel like he could have done this exact same plot with somebody else in the village. You're telling me that village doesn't have, like, a Reg O'Brien type? I mean, a Reg Barkley type? Right? Mm-hmm. Like, there's probably somebody in that village that would have been terrible at it and just pick that guy.
He's the town idiot.
Especially because these villagers are stupid, and they're stupid. Like, what is it about these people that makes them so, like, not trustworthy of anybody? Like, they like these are the most cynical villagers in the galaxy. I don't know where they came from. I mean, I don't know why they don't trust each other, especially after night of this monster coming.
Yeah.
Anyway, anything else?
I'm pretty sure Dalrock is a play on Balrog.
Yeah.
From Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
That's all I got.
I thought that too. Well, anyway,
or Balrog.
That is, yes, that's what that's called.
I was confusing it with Borok, which is from Bionicle. They've got shooty heads.
Mm-hmm. And not to be confused with the giant rock creature from Galaxy Quest, the Gridneck.
Well, you wouldn't confuse because that doesn't sound anything like.
It's true. It doesn't. I'm just.
It's made clouds.
And rocks.
There's no rocks. It's a big cloud.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, and I guess his name is Dalrock.
No, I'm just saying that, like, I must have just gone to that because it was a rock creature and he had said Dalrock, but that's not a rock creature. Anyway, so I don't know. That was just an aside that had nothing to do with anything.
And this set looks better than the soundstage plant we went to last time.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And they go to we like late TNG goes to a lot of places that look like this, and so I'm assuming they have a set for these kinds of villages and stuff. But anyway,
yep.
Well, folks, thanks for watching. We sure appreciate it. We will see you again soon with episodes 14 of these shows. And in the meantime, I'm Captain Logan,
and I'm Eric.
Thanks for watching.
Sarah!
Sarah Glofton!